Um, yes, Puzzle Media family, I welcome you all to our channel once again. It's your man Mike here once again. I'm here with Miss Irene Nviiri, and we're here to talk about Black history and some of the social life of Ugandans staying in Canada. Yeah. Welcome to this channel.
Thank you so much.
Madam Irene, the first time I saw you, I found you onto the Ugandan community in BC, and you gave a very good educative speech about Black history.
Oh, thank you.
So the reason why I decided to look for you again is to get more information about Black history.
Oh, I'm honored.
Thank you. So go ahead, you can introduce yourself to the people.
Oh. Hi everyone, my name is Irene Nviiri, as Mike has mentioned. First of all, I'm very honored to be with you this afternoon. And I'm pleased that you took time off to look around for me, and here I am.
Yeah.
Well, I live in Abbotsford, and that's about an hour away from Vancouver, for those who might not know. And that's where I live, and that's where I work most of the time. And I do, of course, life coaching and speaking engagements. It's broad anyway, but for now, I think I'll end it at that.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Well, you talked about life coaching.
Yes.
Can you try to enlighten us more about life coaching, because it's kind of difficult for someone who is just watching us?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Thank you for asking. So life coaching, as I mentioned, is pretty broad, but I'll just focus on one sector that I deal in, and probably that will throw more light on the other areas as well. So the life coaching I do is I focus on immigrants most especially, and I work on mindset change. I also work on self-discovery and many other things. But like I said, my role in life coaching is transformation. That is the overall objective. However, the way I do that is it starts with self-evaluation or self-discovery, so that someone can know who they are and they can pave way to where they want to go. So if you realize who you are and who you want to be, then there is a gap in between. So that is the journey that we have to walk together for you to get to your final destination. So overall, my focus is making sure that people are living a life they desire, and they are living with joy, and they are living comfortably, because everyone has a dream. But how do we get to the dreams? Wow. Yeah.
So that's really amazing. Well, so I would love us to switch to the main issue of Black history, because this is a Black History Month.
Yes.
Kindly, can you tell me what comes to your mind if someone says Black history?
Yeah, Black history to me means three things.
Yeah.
It means the experiences that people of African descent encountered when they came to a new land, which is Canada or whatever place they went to. And then number two, we talk about the stories that they have to tell, what they went through and what is behind their living, or what is behind their experiences. Yeah. We also want to look at their achievements. Yeah. What did they achieve? So when we talk about Black history in Canada, for example, that to me rings the bells of the experiences or the challenges they faced, the achievements they got, and the stories that they have to tell. Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so within that context, can you tell us about the challenges do you think Black people face within Canada?
Like currently?
Yeah, like currently.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so Black people or people of African descent, because not every person from Africa is Black anyway. Yeah. So the word Black sometimes is misleading in a way. So sometimes I might have to use the word people of African descent. I hope you're okay with that.
Yeah, people of African descent.
Okay, so I'll be referring to us, okay? Yeah. So challenges are many, but to begin with is a shock in culture. Okay. I, for one, when I had just come, I found so many things. Let it be food, language even, much as I came to Canada when I was eloquent in English, but my accent is different. Yeah. Because you realize that I have my mother tongue, but I also learned British English when I was in school. So I have mixed accent there. And then when I come, it is a different accent. So language was also one thing. Like I said, the food and what should I say? Like the day-to-day living, people have different lifestyles, which might be a little different from ours. So we do things differently, and some words mean different things to some people, or some actions or gestures mean different things to other people. So the culture shock alone was one thing. And the other challenge I faced was searching for jobs, because I did not have Canadian experience, and everywhere you go, they're asking for experience. I had experience back home, lots of experience actually, and I had so many transferable skills that I could use here. But the factor of Canadian experience always singled me out, and there was no way I could get to a job until at least I found one company which was willing to take me on, but not in a position where I wanted to be or I deserved to be according to my education, but a very low position, an entry-level position. So job search is also the other thing. And the other thing is social life. Because when we come here, we are focused on how do I get money to take care of myself and take care of my family back home. Because when we leave the country, we have family back there and we still have responsibilities there. So when you're here, you want to make sure that you're earning something, you're bringing food on the table. But then you cut yourself short in a sense that you do not have social life because your focus is on work. Okay, so social life is kind of cut off. If you're not very careful, you might not recover from that. So yeah, those are some of the challenges. And of course, there are challenges like discrimination. I've seen that happen in different forms though. Discrimination takes different forms. Sometimes people are discriminated from the way they present themselves. For example, if you can't present yourself with a smile, someone could be afraid of talking to you because you don't seem approachable. However, there are people who just discriminate you because you're a different color, you're a different race, and they wouldn't want to associate with you. They have their own reasons. So I've seen things happen like you get to a bus and you can't find a place to sit because everyone doesn't want to sit close to you. Maybe they have a backpack there and you can't even move it, or even if you requested, someone is very hesitant to remove their backpack for you to have a seat. So discrimination in those kinds of, forms and many other forms.
So do you want to say racism is still practiced within Canada?
Yeah, of course. It is. That's for sure, but it depends on how you're looking at it. Like I've always told people that racism is all over the place. It's not just here in Canada, even in the places where we come from. Because remember, for example, I come from Uganda. And in Uganda, we have different tribes there. We have different regions. For example, we have the central, the east, the west, the south, and the north. But you find that sometimes people discriminate against people from another region, from my own country. And I've seen that happen. So we are bringing it now here where we are. So in every society, almost in every society, not just Canada, but maybe in all other countries, there is a certain degree of racism. Because I don't know if it is just natural, like it just comes naturally to people, or sometimes it also depends on how we present ourselves. Like I said before, for example, you could be speaking a different language from the other person. So they don't know at what point they can relate with you because the communication alone is not there. That's why I always encourage people of African descent, when you're in public, speak English because that is the unifying language. If someone is interested in knowing about you and they hear you speak English, they have an entry point because they can understand what you're saying. But if you're in public and, for example, you're speaking your own language, how do you expect someone else to to interact with you because they are not even sure whether you can communicate with them. So things of that kind might also put us in that category of being discriminated against, right? Because we have already separated ourselves from the other people. And the other thing also sometimes it is the character. If someone has a wrong character, for example, and met somebody from a different country, they might assume that, yes, all people of that skin color or that race, they behave that way. So they kind of categorize us in, that way. So your character also creates more problems
Yeah.
for you. So if it is a good character, for sure people will want to associate with you. They might not really want, but somehow they find themselves associating with you because you have something good with you. You're welcoming, you're warm to them.
Yeah.
And then they seek to understand you. Also, the other thing is racism also catches us in this category of not wanting to know about other people. When we don't show interest in other people, for sure they won't show interest in us.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've witnessed this. I'll use an example. For example, if you had a function and you invited your neighbor to come, you're showing that you're interested in them, or you would want them to be interested in what you're doing. So next time when they have a function, they will invite you also because you showed that you're interested in them.
Yeah.
On the other hand, for example, if you have a neighbor or somebody you know and you keep inviting them to your functions or to your activities and they don't show up, they don't show interest, next time you'll be like, okay, I don't have to waste my time calling them because every time I invite them, they never show up. That means they are not interested. So already you're creating that barrier right there. So now I'm bringing it back to us. If you don't show interest as a person from the African descent, if you do not show interest in the other people, in the other races, in the other colors, in their activities, in everything else they do, still they will not show interest in you because you're not interested in them. And you might interpret it as racism, yet it might not.
Okay.
But it's because you're creating that.
You created that barrier between you and them.
Yeah.
I would like to know, because I also come from Africa, and we do not celebrate Black History Month.
Yes.
But when I came to, the more I've been moving around, I noticed, or I realized that these countries or the Western world do celebrate Black History Month. So I want to know, why does Canada celebrate this month, the Black History Month?
Okay, so when Canada is celebrating Black history, it is, first of all, it is a recognition that Black people do exist in Canada.
Okay.
That's a credit to the Canadian government.
That's good. So they recognize us.
They recognize us.
Okay.
Here we are. Now, it's up to us to build on that.
Okay.
So taking you back on why Canada celebrates Black history is, of course, we have a big history. Some people do not even know how Black people ended up in Canada. Some people do not even understand how the people of the African descent end up in Canada, like how. Even the people who are living in this country and they have been born and raised here, they might not know that history. That's why it is very important for us to teach this history so that people can be aware, so that people can get to understand the origin. Because if you understand your history, it kind of informs the future. So Canada celebrates Black history. First of all, like we said, they recognize that it's a race.
Yeah.
And so here we are. And also, they want to encourage us to be more of who we are.
Yeah.
When they are celebrating us, they are saying, hey, you're Black, you're valued.
I understand this.
You are seen.
Yeah.
You're heard. You're free. That's what I understand from that.
Yeah, they recognize us.
They recognize me. So that recognition is what we have to build on. Yes, we are here then.
What next?
What next? So it's up to me. So when they are celebrating Black history, they are recognizing us as a race or as people of African descent, but they are also looking at the struggles that the original people faced.
Yeah.
And I'll take you a little bit through that. They are also recognizing the achievements of the Black race or of people of African descent. That's why I said when I'm talking about Black history, I'm talking about all this.
Yeah.
The good, the bad, the achievements and all those things and the stories that we have to tell.
Yeah.
So it depends on how you're telling the story.
Yeah.
So to take you back, I don't know, people might be interested in knowing how Black people came to Canada.
So, do you have any prominent figure or public figure within Canada here who inspires you when you talk about Black history, something like that? or within now, or in the ancient regime, or back then, something like that?
Yeah, so from the Black history, from the history, because now it is no longer existing, we are just talking about things that happened.
Yeah.
I'll single out one lady who is Viola Desmond.
Viola Desmond.
Yes.
I heard that name before.
Yeah,
you
so,
talked about that lady still when we were into the conference.
Yes,
I remember.
Yes. So Viola Desmond, and I chose a lady because I'm a lady also. Like
Okay.
I'm a woman, so I chose a woman.
Okay.
But there are so many great men, actually, when you read the history, that did so many great things. They were politicians, they were business people, they did all great things.
Yeah.
But I'll single out this lady, Viola Desmond. So what happens is Viola Desmond, of course, was one of the first Black women, and they were living in Nova Scotia.
No, where is Nova Scotia? I always hear about Nova Scotia, but it's here within Canada?
Yeah, it is in Canada.
Okay.
So Nova Scotia is where most of the Black people actually entered Canada through either the underground railway and all the other means.
Yeah.
So people started in Nova Scotia, and then they started spreading out in all parts of Canada. So this lady went to the theaters. So she reached there, and there was a section in that theater, there was a section for whites only. And then there was a section for every other person.
Yeah.
And so what she did is to defy the odds. And she goes like, you know what, today I feel like sitting in this section.
Yeah.
And so they said, no, you're sitting in the wrong place. This is for whites only.
Wow.
And of course, I wasn't there to tell what the argument was like.
Yeah.
But she stressed that she needed to sit there because she's human. But definitely, the bottom line is that we are all humans.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we bleed the same way.
Yeah. So
We have the same life.
Sorry, but just a quick question. So what you're trying to mean is the Black people by then within the theaters were not allowed to sit with the white people.
Exactly.
And they were being, how can I say, they were being given specific places to sit in,
Yeah.
and the whites also had specific places also to sit in.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
So they were designated because then, remember, when the Blacks came in, they came in as slaves. That is the history people must know. They were taken from their countries. They were taken to Europe. They were taken to the Americas. They were all over the place because they wanted them to work either on their plantations or in their factories or anywhere they wanted them to work. So they were the labor. It was the labor. So Black people came in as labor. Also, even after all that was done, people had slaves in their homes who were working for them. Nowadays, we have maids, we have nannies, babysitters, and all that. Then they were the slaves.
Yeah.
Of course, I don't think they would work with the children, but they did all the work, like farming and all those had, they had work. It was for the Black people. So that being said, so someone is looking at you as a slave or a daughter or a son of a slave. Of course, they're underlooking you. So you don't deserve to be in a particular area. Also, much as these slaves were brought in by the white people, they were brought for different reasons, of course, but you realize that they were categorized differently. And so they never wanted the white people to mingle with the Black people. So they had to put those demarcations.
Yeah.
And so this lady goes like, no, I have to sit there because I think the main reason is we are all human anyway.
Yeah.
So, and she was arrested, she was put in jail, and afterwards, of course, she was let out, but she didn't get a fair hearing. Anyway, no one was there to stand in for her as a Black person. But anyway, when she was released, she started life again. The reason as to why I'm talking about this lady, and she's very, actually, even her image is still existing. For those of you who have money, you'd find Viola Desmond on a $10 bill, Canadian $10 bill. Is that blue or purple?
Yeah,
kind of mixed colors. Yeah, purple. So she's the lady there. And this is the reason as to why she appears on that bill.
Okay.
Because she said no to that.
She defied.
Yes, she defied it, and she stood on her grounds, much as she ended up in jail, but she made a statement already.
Yeah.
Okay. And when she came out even stronger. Guess what she did? Viola Desmond was a beautician.
Who is a beautician?
A beautician is someone who does work related to beauty.
Okay.
So they do anything like makeup, they will do anything like hair or things of that kind. So that's what she did. And she even had a school. She started a school to train black women in the beauty industry.
Okay.
Because there was no school that would take black women.
Wow.
So she said, if there is no school for us, I'm going to start one. And she did.
Yeah.
So she recognized the need. She said, okay, we are in good numbers. We can do our own. She did. So she was a business lady. And she helped other women. So she was a role model for many black people. She empowered them because she said, oh, if Viola did that, then I can.
She united them that much.
Exactly.
Wow.
She empowered them, so they went on about their business. They did whatever they did. But they knew that at least they had someone, they had an icon to look up to.
Yeah.
So that's what we should be doing as black people or as people of African descent.
Wow.
So because of that scenario where she defied the odds and she said, I'm not going to sit in the black, whatever mixed race, I'm going to sit in the whites only, just to show them that, yay, we are black, but we are human. Yeah. We deserve equal rights. We are citizens of this country. So here we are. Treat us just like anybody else.
Exactly.
And as time went by, I don't know how the process went, they realized, okay, I think this is one significant person that we've got to recognize. So in, I think that was 2018. So that
2018, just even not very far.
I could be getting the date wrong, maybe. You will pardon me on that. Yeah, but I know that that negotiation took some time until they realized, okay, we are printing out this bill.
Okay.
And her picture is there. She's the first female to appear alone on a bill. And she's on a Canadian bill, and she's the only black woman that appears there by herself.
Wow.
Because the other person, I think you know, the queen, right?
Yeah, the queen, yeah.
But for her, now she's the lady.
She's the second lady to appear onto the bill, right?
Exactly. But what makes it unique is that she appears there alone as a black female.
Wow.
Black female.
So that takes us back to the question I asked you, that why is it that Canada is celebrating this month? So they look up to this icon, like the iconic people, let's say, like the lady you said. I know there are many more others, but I think this one is well seen by many people because she's onto the bill. Yeah, she's on the bill. I think they put it in a very good position because people handle money all the time. Only that when you look at the picture, you might not even know, you might not even question. Yeah. For sure, now I know people are going to go back and check on their man and say, oh, so this is the lady? Yeah, and she looks very cute there. Okay, so I would like to ask you another question. Have you ever faced any discrimination or any racism like acts on you as a black woman staying in Canada? There are not so many examples I can give in this context, but I remember at least one. Yeah. When I had just started working and I worked on a construction site. Yeah. You realize... Can you work on a construction site? You are a lady? I did. Here I am. I mean, how could you lift things? No, that wasn't actually my job. I worked on a construction site, but I was the health and safety officer and a first aid attendant. So you had your first aid kit everywhere, moving around? Not really. You know? I had a portable one, which is this small, but I had a first aid room. So if someone got a serious injury, they would come to my room, or I would grab another kit, which is slightly bigger, and run to where they are. Okay. So that was kind of a lighter job, although it is kind of technical, but it is not a heavy-duty kind of job. However, I also did some cleaning on construction sites because if I didn't have anything to do, I'm one person who just can't sit idle. Yeah. So if I don't have anything else to do, I would go and help out. If they are lifting some lighter stuff or cleaning, sweeping, I did all that. So I would be all dirty and all that, but that's fine. Okay. So when I saw other females who were like plumbers and electricians, and they did heavy work. And some of them were just labor. So they did lifting and all that, pushing wheelbarrows on construction sites. So you can do anything for as long as you're healthy and you're fit to do the job, right? Yeah, so
racism, the racism that I faced, or the discrimination I faced, is that I had this one gentleman who was my supervisor in the department, and the day I arrived on site, he wasn't there. So he came the day after, and I was substituting someone who was a permanent staff there, but probably they were on a holiday. And so when he came in and I had to introduce myself, every time I talked to him, he said he wasn't understanding what I was saying.
Oh.
Yeah. But the look on his face, he never smiled at me, even if I smiled. Even if I greeted him, sometimes he would just not respond. Wow. And I was like, am I just so soft? But I realized that I'm a very loud person. And I'm like, what's going on here? It didn't take me a while to realize that, oh yeah, so this is the thing. But this is how I handled it. I always want to share how I handle situations so that people can probably have another perspective of things and can have a different mindset or approach to things, because the way you approach a situation determines the result sometimes, or most of the times. So, and what happens is that also when I was sitting in the first aid room, for example, said, oh, I'm not doing anything. But as a first aid attendant, you're supposed to be in that room 24/7, if I may use that. I mean, you're not working 24/7, but for as long as you're on duty, you're supposed to be in that room for the entire shift. Why? If someone came in and they needed first aid, you've got to give them first aid within at least the first 3 minutes. Or if you're called somewhere, like someone is on a different floor, a different location on site, you're supposed to go there as fast as you can. So if you're going to be wandering around and they can't find you, it can be a challenge against you. So he said, oh, I'm just idle, I'm not doing anything. And yet, sometimes I'd even grab a room and just a rather broom and sweep around. So other supervisors would see that I was working. Whereas just this one person said I wasn't working. So it kind of happened in a way that others would see, much as they were not talking, but they would see. So when he raised the case, everyone was just turning him down because they said that is not the fact, and they had to write a report for me. And he said he cannot communicate to me because he doesn't understand. So what I did is every time I wanted to communicate like important issues, I would write for him an email.
Oh.
And remember,
you couldn't communicate to him face to face?
Because I wanted to talk to him face to face. But because every time I talked to him, he said he wasn't understanding me.
Oh,
but to me,
sad.
that was pretense, because all the other people of the same race as he was, they were understanding my communication. So when I realized that, I said, okay, I know English, except that my accent is a little different. They are the same words. If they're written and he can read them, he will get the meaning. So that's what I resorted to. But that didn't mean that I stopped talking to him. Every time I would meet him, I would say hello, I would say whatever. If he asked me a question, I would answer him. If I needed to tell him something urgently, I would go to him and talk to him. But again, I remembered to put that in email so that he doesn't come up with something like, I didn't understand what she said. You understand? So I just wanted to back up my communication that way. And I ended up working there for a couple of, I think there were 3 months, and I left the site. And after some time, I think they lost that person who was working there, and they ended up hiring me for a year.
To replace that person.
So if I wasn't good enough, they wouldn't have brought me back. Or if the other people saw what he saw as he was stating it, they wouldn't have hired me back.
So by the time they hired you back, was he still there?
Yes.
And was he still saying the same?
No, he stopped.
He stopped, and he wasn't even lamenting about anything?
No. Everything was okay.
So
still, his character hadn't changed 100%, but there was a little bit of a shift in his mindset, I believe, because now he was approaching things differently. He would even come to my office to ask me about all the other things that were going on, and I was the person to answer his questions.
So that means if you were a weak person, you could have left the job and go.
Of course, I would have quit.
Because you couldn't stand that.
So the mindset is also a thing.
The mindset.
I said, okay, if this is what he thinks, and this is what he thinks of me, now I'm going to do it this way to counteract his idea. Yes.
Your story is really good, and I wish people could watch and try to listen to what you're talking about, because it's really useful to someone out there, to someone who is wishing to come to Canada, a person with our race, you know. You just have to know that You don't have to. You don't have to. Sorry. You don't have to be scared. You don't have to be scared. You just have to be who you are. Just stand your ground. Even if, I mean, I know a lot can happen.
Yeah.
I mean, discrimination is still there. Racism is still there. But it's not like as they say. Because you can see what Madame Irene is saying. Like, I mean, from 100, you can find like one person doing that. And it's everywhere. Even in our home countries, even if the person is from the Britain, still you may find that he's being discriminated if he or she goes to the United States, right? So it is still everywhere. Okay, so this takes us back to another question.
Yes.
Do you think it's advisable for teachers in school within here, Canada, to teach kids about Black history, things like this, slave trading, and more so on?
Yeah, actually, thank you for asking. Actually, teaching kids from a young age about Black history or about people of African descent,
Yeah.
other than the history, letting them know that there is a continent called Africa, and the people of Africa may look like this.
Yeah.
I think that would be good enough. Not good enough, but it will be at least good for them to have an idea, so that when they see someone looking like that, they say, oh, these are people from Africa, right?
Yeah.
That's number one. Number two, if they are taught about the origin or the way people made it to Canada, how did a Black person end up in Canada? I think that's also a good component to teach.
Yeah.
Only that it comes with trauma, because imagining someone telling you that your great-great-grandparents were slaves,
Yeah.
I think that kind of stains their mind.
Yeah.
So you
It's like
can't
a
teach
trauma.
that to a very little child. You've got to teach that to someone who has attained a certain degree of maturity, that they can sort out the ideas.
Yeah.
Because the word slave, to me,
Yeah.
rings a lot of bells in my head.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't someone to go off with that because they were slaves and then thinks, okay, so since they were slaves, then we should treat them as slaves, or since they were slaves, then they are not deserving, or things like that.
Yeah.
But it is good, for example, as adults to understand where I come from. So in schools, I think the syllabus or the curriculum should be made in a way that it can shed a picture to these people and they can understand what Africa is, the people of Africa. Of course, Africa is diverse. We have several regions in Africa, countries, and to begin with. Though some people here think that people from Africa speak the same language. That confuses me too.
I was surprised also.
Yeah, someone says, oh, you're from Africa. And you're like, of course I'm from Africa. And then they expect you to speak like the other African person. I say, no, we have different languages.
Yeah.
Even in a small country like Uganda, we have at least over 10 languages.
Yeah, just
like,
a small note. You know, someone can say to you that, oh, I thought people from Africa speak the same language. And you're like, okay, so if you think we speak the same language, which language is that, do you think? And the person is like, I also don't know, but that's what I thought. And you're like, so you thought so, but you don't even know the language we may be speaking.
Exactly. Yeah.
Carry on.
Yeah. So, yeah, interesting. So if these people are given, if these children or in schools, if they gave them a little bit of a background, so they have kind of a picture, so that when they meet people, they have an idea of what to expect. I think that would be a good thing.
Okay.
However, there's one gentleman here in Canada. His name is Yassine Chiraga. He has worked with one professor from UBC. I think it's Dr. Larry.
Okay.
They have developed a curriculum for students from grade 10 to grade 12.
Okay.
So they can learn about African history.
Yeah. That is so good.
I don't know how far that development is.
Yeah.
But I know that that initiative was done. And I can't wait to see the finished work of that, because then that gives us a foundation. If that can be taught in all schools, because lack of information is a bad thing.
Very bad.
If people are not, aware of what to expect, or they are not aware of things, They could do things differently because they lack this part of information.
Yeah.
But when people are well informed,
Yeah.
life is easier. So if we start at that level,
Yeah.
I think that would be great. And I've heard of some people also who are like, I've seen, of course, some books that are written.
Yeah.
For example, they have cartoons and all those things. That's to talk about the Black race,
Yeah.
and students can get them from the libraries. So I would encourage also that visit the libraries, for example. A library would be a very good source because they have all sorts of books. For example, here in Abbotsford, during the Black History Month, all the libraries made displays of books about Black history.
Wow, that's good.
So the Black writers, for example, anything that was writing about the Black people, they had a whole lot
Wow.
of displays. So if you went to the library and you're searching for a book, maybe written about a certain person, the libraries can help you to find this. Yes, and if you go to the Canadian Encyclopedia as well, they have lots of information about Black people or about Black history.
So do you think kids are interested in studying these books, like the white kids? Do they study these ones? Are they interested in reading them?
Yeah, for the interest, I might not know.
Yeah.
But like I said, if we take the initiative, we might interest them. Because sometimes people are not interested in things because they might not see a meaning in that. But if there is a way we can let them know that, hey, if you want to know about this, you can read this. Or if there is a simpler way of introducing this information in small bits, such that whoever is interested can still go and read more.
Okay.
That would be great. For example, I have a daughter. And what I normally tell her is that when she's with her friends, let her talk about the good things
Okay.
from her country.
Yeah.
Whatever good thing she knows in her country, while they're having a conversation, let her share with her friends. Because if she shares that, they might pick interest.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They might pick interest and say, hey, I need to know more about this and that. For example, as an adult, when I was still working on a construction site, actually, I met several people who were honestly interested in knowing about African people.
Yeah.
So they would ask me the country where I come from, and they'll look at it on the map. So, okay, Uganda is in East Africa. They will show you, oh, the capital city is Kampala. They will be the one showing you around. Oh, there is this hotel. They start asking, and they ask, okay, so which food do you eat? You say matoke, they start Googling it and say, oh, matoke, this is banana.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this is a different kind of banana. What makes it different? People were just genuinely interested because I showed interest as well.
Sorry, you've reminded me about something. I have a friend of mine. He's a Canadian also.
Yes.
So he has got 3 boys. And he told me that when the first time he took his kids to Uganda, he gave them banana. And when they were eating this banana, and they were like, this mashed potato is tasting different. And he was like, what? That's no mashed potato. That's banana, and that's our local food. And they're like, oh yeah, but it doesn't taste good. So I can understand if you say like this.
Yeah, so those are kids for you, but that was a good thing because also they expressed themselves. What they knew, something that looked like that was mashed potato.
Yeah.
That's all they knew.
Yeah.
So they are seeing some mashed potato which tastes different, and it doesn't taste nice to them.
Yeah.
You understand? But that's who they are because they were not exposed before. But guess what? Maybe if they ate that a couple of times, they would start liking it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for children, I think starting education at a very young age would be ideal because children have very open minds. Okay. Unlike for us adults, when we know something, we lock. This is it and that's it. There are very few people with open minds. But for a child, that's why it is not good to expose children to bad things.
Yeah,
because all that goes in their brain. But if you're positive and you're bringing positive vibes around them, that would be a good thing. Talking about Black people and what they do and who they are and how beautiful they are and the good things they can do, that would be a story or a gospel to preach to these children.
That's so good. You know, the information you're trying to give here is really a useful information.
Oh, thank you.
whereby people would love to hear this. People would love to know why do we have blacks here in Canada? Because some of them came, like as you said, some of them came here unwillingly. And they decided to stay because they don't know where they came from. They cannot trace back where their ancestors are, you know? So I would like to ask you another thing. Are you guys having anything, or can you come up with that? Or I know, maybe you may be having it, or you may be planning to do it. Some initiative of organizing some events which bring black community or black events, you know, people to come up and start talking about this, because you can tell people about these things. Like I told you, back home, we do not study about, we don't know anything about black history, but what we know is they used to take our ancestors as slaves to go and work into farms, things like that, you know? So we were not so much into the reasons as to why we have some black Americans, black Canadians, you know, the Britain black people, you know? So do you people have anything like events, you know, community gatherings like those?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, to take you back a little bit, we do not study about black history in the countries where we come from, because we might think that it is irrelevant, because that's where we are born, that's where we are. What else do we know? We are not looking at anything different. But now we are here, we are the minority. So everyone must be wondering, where are these people coming? Because we are the minority, and we are very visible because we are colored. Right? So I think that's why that raising awareness is important here in Canada. But just to take you back a little bit, if people studied about Atlantic slave trade, that is the slave trade that happened from Africa. Some goods were being taken from America to Europe, from Europe to America, but of course all the black people, and some of the good things, of course, they were taken from Africa along with the slaves. So the events, we have several events here. Like I mentioned, this month I have done so far 3 events about black history. I did one in the city where I live, that's Abbotsford, and that was the first one of its kind. By chance.
I saw you being awarded. You have an award. I saw that.
No, actually, that picture I think you're referring to is when I visited Vancouver and we met with the mayor of Vancouver. Ken Sim. We met with him when they were proclaiming February 2025 as Black History Month. They do that every year. And actually, there were 3 people who were awarded. I was not included, but what I was holding was the proclamation. So they read a lot of great things about black history. So there were 3 black business people that were recognized and awarded during that ceremony. And one lady is a beautician and designer, and the other lady is a book coach, and he also works with youth leadership, and I don't remember the other person. So, but from that, I again had a very big celebration with the city of Abbotsford. They partnered with me and we produced the event. That was the Black History Month event, one of its kind, and they said we now have to hold it annually. So from what they saw, they were interested enough to say, yes, we want to do this annually. And what I did is to give people information, the congregation information about how black people ended up here. And I gave them a rough estimate of how many black people we have in Abbotsford, and not only black people, but we also have other races. We have people from Asia, we have people from India, we have people from South Africa, we have people from Kenya, we have people from all different areas, because I have met several people in this community that are coming from different places, South Sudan and all that. So I let people know that, hey, here we are, but we have all these other races too. And what I did this time is to encourage each and every person to be proud of who they are and showcase who they are. Authenticity is key. If you do not believe in who you are, no one is going to believe in you. If you're not interested in who you are, no one is going to be interested in you. So my encouragement then was, people should know who they are, and they should showcase who they are. They should share who they are so that people can know them, because that is the only way we are going to spread out. If you're reserved, people will not come into your corner. Rather, you've got to spread out so that you can meet people where they are and let them know about you. So we did that event also. And then I did another event, which was a beading workshop with the children. So I made this presentation with a beading workshop. Why? Kids like such activities. So I knew, okay, how do I teach these children about Black history? I'm not going to go to their classes to teach them, but the best I could do is to do a beading workshop. So they came out, we did bracelets, they made their necklaces, they made the earrings.
I was going to ask you, what is a beading? What are you talking? I thought a bead like bidding about something,
for procurement, or something like that.
That's what I was thinking about.
Yeah, so that was, we call it beading. So they have the beads, they are plastic beads or wooden beads, and then they put them together to make bracelets, they made earrings, they made necklaces, and they came with their parents. And I made a presentation just for children.
Yeah.
So by the time they left, they were all amazed. They're like, oh, right? And because I was the facilitator of the workshop, I had to work with them. So I'm coming close to them. I'm bringing myself to them, but with something that they like, which is beading. So the way you package your message also matters. I'm not going to go on the street and start preaching Black history. I might not do that, but if I can find a conducive environment and activity, that's where I'll chip in. Last summer, we did an activity at this park, actually. And we came to dance, eat, and play African music. And people were stopping by, and we played African games too. Do you know kwepena? Dodgeball?
Yeah, dodgeball.
Netubuke emiguwa. And we did all those things. And I was playing with all these children. And people were just coming in and joining in.
Wow.
While we were playing African music, while we were dancing African traditional dances, and while we were learning some words in my language.
Oh, that's so good.
I can't enforce it on them, but I can share it.
So you brought Africa just in front of them.
Exactly.
That is really good. So do you do these events every year?
I plan to do them every year if I get enough funding for that, because everything requires funding now. But I'm pretty sure that for the City of Abbotsford, of course, we are going to do that. The proposals are already going on. We are kind of doing the schedule for that. Also, this city has what it calls Culture City program. And through the Culture City program, it has different activities where I can participate. So I'm hoping that I'll be a part of that, of those activities. I can do things like beading still with the children. I can do the traditional dance and stuff. And when I do that, by the way, this is how I do it. I encourage them to share their culture too with me. So that it's not just me. I see them, I hear them, I feel them, I'm interested in them. So they share theirs. So that cultural connection is what I'm trying to make. So everywhere I go, I learn at least 2 words from other languages. While they are learning mine.
That's good.
Yes.
So while we're finishing up, so is there anything you would like to tell our Black community, like let's say our Black brothers and sisters, you know, I'll be specific because this message goes to them or to us.
Yes.
So is there any message or any encouragement you would love to tell them?
That's a very good question. As we close, my words of encouragement go out to all people of African descent who are living in Canada, but also in other places of the world, because you see that the Black race is spread all around the globe for different reasons. I would encourage you to be authentic. Be true to yourself. You recognize your origin. That's who you are, and it is not going to change. And the advantage we have actually is that we stand out. Stand out in a sense that we are colored. So when we stand out, let's stand out for the good. What do people see? What do people hear? What do people share from you? How are you of value to your community? Like, what value do you bring? Empower yourself so that you can empower others. The people that we are talking about in this history are people who did great things. Don't you think that they were the only black people? We had so many, but we are singling out a few people that we have their history written. Why? They did something of value, that they cannot shy away from it. They just have to talk about it.
That's good.
So while we are here, I would encourage you that the challenges are many. I faced several challenges as well. Discrimination, racism, and all that. But the perception should be different. The mindset around that should be different. While that is the situation, what are you doing about it? Are we going to sit and just have a crying party for that? Or we are going to wake up and say, hey, this is the situation. Now this is what we have to do.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Of course, we have to remain respectful of where we are, because we left the other countries and came here. So now that we are here, let us be respectful. Let us remain calm and focused, because when we came here, we came to get better, right?
Yeah.
Probably, most of us.
Yeah.
I'm just generalizing. I might not speak for individuals, but if you're looking for better, how are you bettering yourself? Don't get stuck. Challenges are here. Find help if you need help.
Yeah.
Look for resources around.
Yeah.
Keep your mind going. Don't get stuck in one position, the survival mode that I usually talk about in my coaching.
Yeah.
Yeah, now that I have a place to stay and I have a job, then what? You fold your hands and you're done. You're not done yet.
Yeah.
Life is just beginning. You've just laid the foundation. Now you've got to keep working on that and have a structure that is full, right?
Yeah.
So I would encourage you to keep pushing. Challenges are there and they will always be there. Even the people whom you think that they are not challenged, they are. But what differentiates what differentiates you from the other people is the way you're going to handle your situation. Like I said, the way you react or the way you handle a situation might determine the results. And sometimes the situations are there and you can't do nothing about them, but you can do something around them.
Yeah.
If I found a log, a tree fallen in the path where I drive or I walk, if I'm not able to cross over, rather, if I'm not able to take it away, I'm going to jump over it. Yeah. Or I might even turn around and use another route so that I can get to where I'm going. So certain situations might not be changed by me. Yeah. But what I have to change my mindset. I have to change my way of doing things to see that I can get to the end. Because don't lose your objective because of a certain, challenge. Do not lose your focus because you're challenged. Rather, those challenges should be building on your strength for you to be able to get to where you're going. Yeah. There's a lot that I can can share.
Yes, well, as you've heard Miss Irene Nviiri, she's trying to tell you guys out there, you have to break the barriers. You should not allow some small things to take you off the road. If you focused on driving on the road, just drive. If you find some challenges, like she said, if you find a rock, if you can't lift it up, jump it. You will move on, stay focused, and I think that's the lesson we have to move on within life.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, so thank you for watching. Stay on Puzzle Media, subscribe, share, and like our videos. Till next time, bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.